This is Twit.
Sebastian and I had a funny conversation earlier this week about featureitis and whether or not adding features to something are, well, you know, whether they're a necessary and wondrous addition to the product category or something they did because they want all of their existing, you know, users to buy it all over again, or if they're even just plain ridiculous. Enter the HyperX Cloudflight S wireless gaming headset with key charging. HyperX has made some really good headsets and some of the best affordable headsets out there that do a really, really good job with audio. HyperX, a couple of high-end headsets that left us kind of scratching our heads. Where in this continuum do we find the Cloudflight S wireless gaming headset with key charging?
Well, it lives in the continuum, but in a different dimension from our own.
Wow.
Much like the Q continuum, the Qi or key continuum has many dimensions. What's interesting about this, there's a couple things going on here. And as Patrick alluded to, HyperX makes really good stuff. It's not terribly expensive. It depends. I mean, they have a huge lineup of gaming accessories. But I've tested a few of their, I think I can see 3 or 4 different boxes from HyperX sitting around here. So over the years, I've tested multiple headsets. And they had been very reluctant to get into wireless gaming headsets. I remember on a web conference with them when they were first announcing the Cloudflight, they talked about this. They didn't want to make any concessions. They didn't want to introduce latency or quality issues. So when they finally did it, they did it with the Cloudflight, the original 2.4 gigahertz, kind of your standard USB dongle setup. And because to them, it's lower latency. They can do higher bitrate audio. And with the Cloudflight S, I was expecting, you know, maybe some additional features, maybe throw in Bluetooth as an option if you want to use it with a phone. They have not done that. And that was kind of odd to me because the selling point of this is apparently the wireless charging capability, where literally I think it's the left ear cup, the outside of the left ear cup is a wireless charging system. I don't know, is it the coil?
If you're watching the video.
Yeah, if you're watching the video, you can see it's a strange sight to behold. If you have a wireless charging pad for your phone in your house and you want to charge these, you simply set them down on it. But you have to set them flat against the outside of the left ear cup. So then the entire headset is sort of suspended vertically with the other ear cup dangling above it. I found it to be a lot more stable if I collapsed it down to its smallest size first. And then it did not topple over even my really small, inexpensive, like $10 charging pad that I got on Amazon.
This is
so. Good. Oh, hey, here we go. So yeah, it's just similar to this. If you're watching the video, this is what your headphones will be like. One of the things, and it works fine. I was surprised. There's like magnets at play that kind of hold it in place against the charging coil. Couple of things. One, in addition to the wireless charging built into the left ear cup, there's also 4 touch buttons, which I feel like they kind of buried the lead. They made it all about the wireless charging capability. There are 4 customizable soft touch buttons on the left ear cup that you can use their software to program whatever you want. So by default, it has like microphone mute as one of them, and then this thing where it's gaming versus chat balance, where it works through like the mixer and it lowers the source audio from your game or something so you can hear your chat if you're chatting through Discord or a similar chat app. So that's fine. That works as expected, and I liked being able to program the buttons to do whatever I wanted. So I could make like the top button volume up and the bottom button volume down. And the front button I made like microphone mute, I think. So I played around with it, customized it. Kind of odd though, the software which you're tapping into to customize these does not have any kind of EQ options. You cannot equalize the sound. There were no custom sound fields or anything other than a simulated 7.1 surround effect, which wasn't great. So you can turn the 7.1 surround effect on and off, and you can check a box that says auto optimize. That, if you're watching the video, it does just that. It optimizes for certain popular games like PUBG and Fortnite, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a particular kind of sound, and if you want to tweak it, you cannot. So I mentioned this in the review. What I'd really like to see is them add just like an additional tab to their Ingenuity software and let you do your own equalization, because there's a very different sound from these than previous HyperX headsets. I've always described their sound as like a smile EQ. Like you scoop out the mid-range and it makes the bass and treble more prominent. It's that softer sound that a lot of people like. But this one is the opposite. It's like enhanced mid-range. It's like a mid-range hump. And then treble is actually a little bit boosted too. So this is a low bass, high mid-range, high treble.
A bassless
kind of
wonder. That's funny because the HyperX, most of their basic headsets are fairly neutral. Compared to some of the gaming headsets where it is a full, like, we jammed up the highs, we jammed up the lows. Emphasizing treble and de-emphasizing bass sounds like a losing proposition for a gaming headset.
Right, because you're not, and they had used the word clarity multiple times, and I saw in their press release it was calling out clarity. These have clarity. So, I mean, you definitely get clarity when you boost mid-range and treble. But because, you know, bass, this is a 50 millimeter driver. If it's really bass heavy, you can kind of muddy up the sound if you kind of emphasize those lower frequencies, and that's what the driver is having to do. And I was all like nerded out fully with this review. Of course, it's audio stuff, which is my hobby anyway. So I was using a tone generator to figure out exactly what frequencies I could hear in the lower bass. And I was surprised because I went down to 20 hertz immediately and started that tone. It was nice and loud and controlled through those headphones. It's really just the mix. So, like, I mean, it would produce sound all the way down to 15 hertz. It didn't do it very well, but after 15, it just kind of cut off. But 20 hertz, really low bass, and a lot of bass in music mix is like 60 to 100 hertz. That lower range was not very loud compared to mid-range and treble. So if you just had access to equalization, you can correct all of this to your liking. That was just odd to me that they don't have it in their own software. So if you're using a music player that has an equalizer, you can correct it. But otherwise, you're kind of stuck with a sound that's surprisingly bright without a lot of bass out of the box.
Interesting.
But, you know, if you can EQ it, great. If they, and in their defense, their software, which frustratingly for me anyway, is only available for the Microsoft Store. I don't know for how much longer. At least the latest version was only available in their store, because they finally brought back download links to the HyperX support site, but it was not current enough for me to be able to use this new headset with it. But that beta software does not seem finished. So maybe that'll all get corrected. That was my feedback for them anyway. Want to see EQ. Otherwise, they're talking about a $160 headset with a surround effect that I personally don't think is that great. It's not the best I've heard, but it's simulated. This is a 2-channel, like a 2-driver headset, so that's kind of a mixed bag. And then I really like the customization of the buttons on the outside of the left ear cup more than the wireless charging, which I don't know. How do you feel about that, Patrick? Like setting your headset down to charge it. Obviously, you can't use it while it's charging that way. But do you find that convenient? Do you have wireless chargers laying everywhere?
I have no wireless chargers in my life. And yeah, you know, I find I prefer devices that, you know, are either plugged in or I don't know. You know, it's given that I don't spend 24 hours a day at my desktop, it probably wouldn't bother me that much, right? Because you could set it down on the charger and then come back later when you're ready for it. You know, I know a lot of people that are kind of mixed about wireless charging. Some people love it. Some people don't love it. I think a lot of it depends on how you use things. You know, I know a lot of people who are super thrilled that they can, you know, I mean, IKEA, for example, makes a lamp that is a bedside lamp. And maybe that's their desktop lamp, and they can just put their phone down on that, you know, when they go to bed at night, and everything's all charged up and happy for them. You know, some of the other, you know, doesn't bother me. I just literally haven't had any wireless charging devices, period. No phones, although you know, maybe my current iPhone, it just doesn't do a lot for me. Mostly because on some level, as silly as this sounds, given how many zillions of items are out there using wireless charging, I'm just not a big fan of anything that induces more heat. Feel free to email Twitch at twit.tv and make fun of me. Which is
if they get warm, that's true. I use wireless charging. I have a couple of pads here in the house, and that headset got a little warm when it was charging, and phones tend to get a little warm. And I would say warmer than when just charging traditionally. But
it occurs to me that I do actually have a phone that will charge, an iPhone that'll charge with wireless charging. So maybe it's time for me to get a key charger and experiment with the joy of wireless charging.
You know what? While you were talking, I was just thinking about this. What a huge miss for me, because I have this round wireless charger here. I could have just stuck it to my ear cup while I was reviewing the headset, because there's magnets. It would have stuck there. You can actually use those headphones while charging them wirelessly if you stick the wireless charger to your head. So if I do a video review, I will definitely explore this. I'll just do the whole review with the Qi charger stuck to my face.
Oh my goodness.